Thank you. This is the RM of Springfield meeting agenda for December the 9th of 2025, starting at exactly 1 p.m. I'm Mayor Patrick Therrien. All of council is present, as well as our CEO, and it's in descending order on your in front of you or on the screen. It's Deputy Mayor Fuel, followed by Councillors Kaczynski, Miller, and Warren. The meeting is called to order there. If I get the approval of the agenda, item number 3, please. A mover and a seconder, please. Councillors Miller and Fuel. Anything of concern to the council, additions or modifications? I see none. If I can get a show of hands, put out for the word of first for those in support. That is unanimous, so carried. And we'll go to approval of the minutes, please. A mover and a seconder. Therrien and Kaczynski. These are the minutes for August the 12th. Any comments from council at all? I see none. And if I can get a show of hands for those in support first. That's unanimous, so carried. We're a little bit early for the delegations. Ashley, would you be ready to go for now? Okay. Council in agreement for going a little bit early? Okay. Yes, whenever you're ready. Whenever you're ready, Ashley, just if you could just start off with your name, who you're here for, and then you can go in.
Sure, sounds good. My name is Ashley Rawluk. I'm a policy advisor with the International Institute for Sustainable Development, or IISD for short. I think we have a presentation. It's just, I'll just dive in. I was going to start to tell a little bit about IISD. So we're one of the world's leading centers for research and innovation. We work to provide practical solutions to the growing challenges and opportunities of integrating environmental and social priorities with economic development. We have 5 areas that we're working on: climate, nature, social equity, economies, and international governance. We have more than 200 people that work across the world, and surprising to many, we are headquartered in Winnipeg. Okay, go ahead a couple slides. Or can I control it? Oh, amazing, thanks. Perfect, we can go to the next one. So I wanted to share a little bit of an update about the floating treatment wetland project that we've been working on for about 1.5 years now. So we initially planted them in July of 2024, and I'm happy to say I come out and I check them every week, take some pictures, pull some weeds, that they're doing really well. We're really happy with how the plant community is developed. And so we're looking forward to next spring when we can actually deploy them out into the pond. So there's, for a pond this size, we would need probably hundreds of them to get a cover to kind of mimic a wetland. But what we want to do instead is to place them in strategic locations. So these improve water quality by the root systems, and there's like a kind of a slimy biofilm that has a bunch of microbes. So we're hoping to place them strategically in areas where water comes into the pond and leaves the pond, so it can kind of provide a polishing function as the water moves through. So we're also going to remove the fencing and continue doing a little bit of weeding and just monitoring their development. We have been working with a local artist on developing an educational sign. So that should be done in February, and then we'll share it with the RM for your input and approval. And then we're planning on installing that this spring or early summer. And similarly, you might recall a few of you were featured in a bit of a video that we took some footage of the day that we were doing the plantings and had a launch event. And so that video should be ready mid-January, and we'll make that available for folks to share as well. Next, please. So I come and check them out every week or two and take pictures. So this is just kind of, I love how this shows the establishment over time. On the far left, we see one of them on day one. It's looking pretty bleak, but you can really see how the plants, get well established and kind of spread out and expand as time goes by, tucked in for winter there. And next slide, please. And then, we're into day 454 on October 1st, and a really, really robust plant community, lots of diversity. So just wanted to share how well those are doing. Next, please. So now I'd like to share another idea that we have for the pond. There's quite an issue with the shoreline erosion. This is a conventional style built pond. So it was, it's built with steep banks, short grass right up to the edges. And I think that's why we're seeing such severe erosion and water quality issues in such a healthy population of geese here year round. That short turf grass, it has really shallow roots. So it doesn't have the capabilities to kind of bind the soil. So we would like to propose a couple techniques that could help establish kind of a fringe of wetland vegetation around it, and then that would hopefully address and prevent the erosion. It could help improve water quality, and you would likely see, you'll still, there's always going to be Canada geese, but it might not be quite the population that we see now. So this would happen by we'd install an erosion control product. So that would allow us to place some soil and then to have kind of like a more shallow, gentle slope where wetland plants can grow. And then when you have that plants with the deep binding root system, it binds the soil, prevents erosion. The plants, just like our floating treatment wetlands, are gonna take up nutrients and break down nutrients. And then geese, this is a perfect habitat for them. They can, they want to see if there's like a fox or coyote coming to get them. There's lots of tender vegetation for them to eat, easy access to water. So by having that fringe of the taller wetland vegetation, it discourages them. It's not suddenly as ideal habitat as it currently is. So I think this would also be a really good opportunity to expand our public education work. We can maybe put in some more signage. We could have some public events. We could also maybe use it as a site where other RMs or watershed districts could come and see this technique. And this work is eligible for funding via the Conservation Trust and to funding opportunities via the Canada Water Agency. Next, please. So I was just going to show an example. This technique was led by the St. Rat River Watershed District at the Mennonite Heritage Village in Steinbach. So you can see it kind of looks like our pond at the start, right? Like really steep banks, a lot of erosion. And then you can see that they've installed this coil log situation. So they're these big coconut rolls. They get some post anchor put in the water and then anchored to the post, and then you backfill it with like a fill, do some seeding and planting, put an erosion control blanket over top of it to prevent erosion until you get good plants established. And then you can see on the bottom right, 4 years post installation, there's again, a really tall, diverse, healthy plant population. So that was all I had to share, and welcome any questions or comments.
One thing I did notice, you're talking about keeping the geese away there. They weren't going near or as nearly as amount of geese by those islands, and so it makes sense that they'll go somewhere else where they're not going to have predators possibly being around.
Yeah, that's an interesting observation and shows, even one little area can have a positive impact.
Councillor Miller?
Yes, thank you very much, Mayor. And thank you for the presentation. I think I'm super supportive to this type of initiative, but I just have one or two questions. One is last month I was in Kenya, and the United Nations Environment Program headquarters is there. So I was looking into these kinds of apparatus that they have throughout the world. Kenya has very strict plastic use regulations. In fact, it's prohibited everywhere. So I just asked, in applications like this, they're using things like cork, and you mentioned coconut. I'm not sure how coconut would work, but the base of the platform itself, I could only view it, so I don't obviously know what it is, but is it a plastic-based foundation here?
Yes, the existing ones we have, they are made from like a recycled kind of rubber and plastic material, and I do think there is the concerns eventually with plastic degradation and breakdown. And there are some newer models that we're kind of curious in using, and they're kind of structured more from one in particular that's really cool. It has like a steel encasement, and then it uses more of the coconut fiber and like a amended soil material. So I think that probably going forward, that would be a better way to go. But I think, as things change over time, that was what was available, but definitely a valid concern.
And that was my assumption. You're using what's available and accessible, but I know down the pipe, if this is broader than a pilot project, or definitely we'd want to move away from biodegradable plastics,
Yeah.
because of course they get into the biostream, and as you would know more than anyone. But so there are products available certainly in Africa and probably going to come here. So just keep your eye open. But two thumbs up for this project. Thanks for doing it.
Yeah, thank you.
Any other questions? Councillor Krasinski.
Hi, thank you for the presentation. So what would be the cost of each island to our municipality? You said the funding are available for this project, but
Yeah.
and how many islands we need in an average pond like what we have here?
So I think we would actually move away from solely using the islands, and we would instead go with that coconut coir structure that could be installed around the pond where there's really severe erosion. So we have some in stock that the St. Rat River Watershed District would donate to us. They had left from the original project, and then we would also look at purchasing some more, and that would be through funding, solely through our funding. And so our support from that we would hope from the municipality would be more just, it's a lot of work. So some labor and, helping with hauling materials and stuff like that. But I think the cost of each individual coir log a few years ago was $66. And we had estimated that we would hope to install 200 around the pond in total. They're about 7.5 feet long each. And then some of the areas, there's been a lot of erosion and the sediment has just deposited kind of along the bank. So in those areas, I think that we would install live plant plugs, and that will colonize those areas where there's kind of sediment benches and more shallow areas already.
So thank you. So about these geese, so the geese won't go on the island, but they're gonna stay in the water?
So I think of some of the naturalized stormwater ponds in Winnipeg where they've kind of been designed with a lot of this emergent vegetation. You'll still see geese and they'll be kind of in the open water, but it tends to, because they don't have the short vegetation that makes it really easy for them to come in and out of the water, they're less, I think they just don't feel as safe, so they tend not to loaf as much. But that's not to say, we would still have turf grass in the areas outside of it, so they might still stay there. But it does tend to, it creates conditions that, they don't feel safe in, and so I think they're less likely to loaf here for, from spring until fall.
Okay, thank you.
Is our pond, because it's doesn't have a shallow, it's just straight down. It's pretty deep, I guess. Do you know how deep it is, first of all?
I don't in the center, no. 7?
About 7.
Okay. Yeah, so typically wetland vegetation will grow anywhere from, quite shallow up to about a foot or 1.5 feet deep. So I think because of those steep sides, it just doesn't have the conditions, but by installing those coir logs, it kind of creates a more gentle slope that allows the wetland vegetation to grow.
Okay, that'd be nice to see us addressing that, because it's getting pretty ugly out there. I think it's raccoons or not raccoons, muskrats.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have tripped in a hole or two.
Yeah. Good trapping stuff there. Any other questions from council? Deputy Mayor?
Yeah, I just want to say that I'd be supportive of this program. Again, just get the funding will help pay for everything. So
Great.
thank you.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Ashley. I appreciate that, and it's great to have that. Actually, one more question. Have you noticed this, was this supposed to address some of the bacteria in the water? Was that studied, and if so, has it worked?
We've taken a series of water samples, but one thing that's really tricky about water samples is that it kind of gives you a bit of a glimpse of what's going on at that time, but it doesn't, if you get a heavy rain and there's a big flush of water come in, so it's hard to say definitively the value or how much it's improving, but I do think it's that the floating treatment wetlands themselves, they're not going to solve all of the problems, but I kind of think it's, a tool in the toolbox. So having those will help address it a little bit. And I think that, strategically placing those in the pond, and then if we are able to do the naturalization technique around the edges, I think that again, it's kind of like a multi-prong approach, not one silver bullet to address it, but I think it certainly helps.
Okay, thank you very much. Then we could proceed on to new business. There, item 6.1, that's the Hillside transfer station. And then that will be Phil.
Good afternoon, Council. My name's Phil Pollock. I'm the Manager of Water and Waste for the RM of Springfield. So I'm here this afternoon to chat with Council sort of about the operating conditions that we have right now at the Hillside Waste Transfer Station, and more so in respect to our tree and brush waste program. So as you know, we currently operate the Hillside Waste Transfer Station, and part of that within the operations there is we do take tree and brush waste from the municipality as a whole. Again, there is no charge for disposal of that at the location for residents. However, there is a charge to deal with it on the back end by the municipality. So this year we have spent approximately $110,000 in operational costs to chip the tree and brush waste, care for it, and ultimately dispose of it. This year on site, we've hauled away approximately 655 metric tons of wood chips that has gone to the City of Winnipeg's Brady Road landfill for further disposal and reuse by the city. Since 2020, since I've been here in 2020, we've spent approximately $450,000 on operational costs directly attributed to the wood chipping program. We estimate there's probably another $50,000 over that time in soft costs for pushing the pile, relocating the pile, loading private vehicles and such. We do make these wood chips available to the public at no cost to take for their own personal use. But as we've seen this year, operational costs are continuing to increase. We just finished our 3-year wood chipping program with our local contractor. And as such, now we're looking, moving to the future to sort of find a way to reduce these costs for the public as a whole. The topic often comes up is, can we just burn the brush waste at the Hillside Waste Transfer Station? Unfortunately, we cannot. Our current operating license does not permit it. However, we are permitted to burn at the Oakwood Waste Transfer Station. So as such, we are looking to council for open dialogue about possibly relocating the wood chip and wood waste and tree brush waste program specifically to Oakwood Waste Transfer Station in an effort to reduce costs for the RM.
And that's it, Phil?
That would be it. So yes, it's for discussion, open to council for dialogue and consideration. We would probably want to look at sort of softly rolling this out with council's approval early 2026 with some grace period. Again, it's slow during the winter. That would give us time to get a media relations program out and to begin diverting tree brush waste to Oakwood with the grace period to the public and sort of moving that forward over the next year.
Getting it out to the media and so on like that, would that also include like pamphlets if we were handing them out at the transfer station there?
Yeah, we could certainly look at doing pamphlets. Currently, right now, we offer the wood chipping program, the wood chip reuse program. It's on the RM's Facebook page. It goes out in the monthly newsletters. We have posters at the admin building and the public works building. And it also goes out on the Facebook page to let the public know that wood chips are always available.
Okay.
However, we have just, over the years now, we've run into a lot and we have to get rid of them.
So the cost is about 100,000. Did you say that there for what we'd save for moving it from here to Hillside?
So we spent on average about 100,000 a year in addressing the wood or the tree waste at Hillside. Oakwood is significantly less because we burn in our 2 burn pits any combustible materials. So we have the ability to slowly move the program over to Oakwood specifically and burn everything at Oakwood and just deal with the ashes.
Okay. Any other questions from council? Councilor Miller?
Thank you for your presentation. You know, because a lot of people are in the rural areas, they have, as you know, brush from after winter and sometimes storms and things like that happen. But do you have any profile on who is using this service? Primarily, like I would suspect it's not people in Councillor Fuel's area as much as perhaps mine, right? Because Ward 3 is right there. Do you have any sense of who is using that brush service?
Sure. So we know it's definitely not new development. New development is basically bare land property, so they haven't come onto the system. Anola and the community proper in that area usually hauls all their tree and brush waste to Oakwood for us to deal with there. Dougal, not so much that we've seen. Oak Bank is an older growth community with a lot of mature trees and property and such. We do find from reports from the operational staff that they do see on average more so rural residential properties sort of in wards 1, 2, and 3, bringing more of the tree brush waste.
Yeah, so a concern I think would be raised, and I think there's possibly a solution, is to burn on site. I think we would want to obviously make it known for residents if they can burn on site and when they can do that, possibly. I think it's winter and you need a permit potentially through certain times of year. I don't think everybody's clear about that because I know I've done it and probably neighbors have done it throughout the year, but these aren't massive burns. These are just, you know, a couple of twigs and stuff. But having said that, the financial impact is significant. 100 grand, $110,000 is huge. I mean, if we can save some dollars from that, has there been any consideration for a modest user fee? In other words, these people who come there from Ward 3 particularly would, I'm going to say, probably not go to Oakwood just because of the distance, whether it be 12 or 15 miles. They may take it back to the residents, or the major concern would be they just dump it on the side of the road, right? So, but if there was a modest charge at $5 or 10, I don't know what it would be, but to do that, would it maybe encourage people to not only burn, but obviously that there's some cost recovery? Like, I don't want this to be a hemorrhaging thing. If you say we've almost lost $500,000 in the last 4 or so years since 2020, that's a hemorrhage and we got to stop it, right? So we've got to come up with solutions. So I'm not sure if anybody else in council has a solution, but we got to stop the hemorrhage.
So there certainly are options for that. We're always open to the possibility for user fees. Again, those are always challenges, right? Transfer stations are known by the residents here that there's no charge for disposal, so it becomes a convenience thing. We could look at sort of the ticket system that we use with the RM of Brokenhead and Beausejour, where you can buy tickets to bring in waste based on the scale of your waste. We could potentially look at that. That would be, again, appetite for senior management and council in establishing those fees and deciding how to move forward with that. The intent is we would like to discourage the use of the Hillside Waste Transfer Station strictly for tree and brush waste. Again, with lots of bigger properties, they have the ability to look after that within their own site, as opposed to us wood chipping it spending money, resources, and then ultimately disposing it with the city of Winnipeg.
I just wanted to add one quick point. I know burning seems like the easy solution, but there is a carbon offset for it. And in other words, there's an impact to the environment in burning, strictly burning. Again, it's an easy solution because you torch it and it's gone, but I don't think it's the environmentally sustainable approach going forward, but it's obviously an option.
I would agree with you on that. I'm first and foremost most for the environment, but again, you look at the cost cycle, right? People are gonna have to haul to Oakwood, so you've got the impact on the roads for the RM. You've got fuel burning. We would burn it at Oakwood multiple times throughout the year, so the fire department's on standby, and the environmental impact from the gases and the exhaust that we waste. So yes, we're trying to find solutions that would minimize the economic costs on the ratepayers and the environmental costs on Mother Nature.
Thank you for the presentation. I have maybe one suggestion. Can we contact some of the company that's selling gravel and they have, spot that they can have wood chips on the yard? And we said, we offer you free wood chip, but you have to provide your own transportation.
That is certainly an option as well. We're always looking for new partners within the RM that can share those costs or take those costs. And there's lots of depleted gravel pits and aggregate areas that we would love to use as revegetation. It takes a willing partner on the other side to deal with that as well, but we're always open to options and working with the community as a whole.
Maybe they buying that, wood chip someplace else and they selling. So if they have material that, for good price, or even if we want to get rid of it, we give it for free. Just bring your own transportation, even advertise from people from city of Winnipeg. Everybody, putting wood chips around the trees and, on their lawns. So that would be, I don't know if just finding the way to advertise.
Yeah, and we certainly do that. We even work with our public works department to see if they can use it on some of their projects. They take a little bit, but again, we generate so much. It ends up just stockpiling, and over time, what we hauled out this year was basically rotted wood chips that ended up breaking down into mulch that the city took as they took it as compost material. So we were able to save some funding on that at a reduced rate. It took 5 years for it breaking down on site to remove. So
just you have to find a logistic, like, if so much traffic gonna be happening, on our, transfer station, then,
I certainly
more
agree.
manpower on our side. So,
yeah,
there are always costs associated with it. Thank you.
Deputy Mayor.
One comment you made was a grace period, and I think that's very important too, that we do that grace period. But we have to, again, educate the people what we're changing, whatever those changes are. We need to get out there and let them know ahead of time so they're not bringing these loads of brush to the transfer station and then just being told to go to Oakwood. I think there has to be some kind of educational piece that this is what we're changing at the time.
I would fully agree with council on that.
When would this start, Phil?
Based on council's sort of appetite to move forward on that, we would look at slowly rolling out the program beginning of January, being the winter months. That yard or the brush waste tends to be pretty quiet. It would give us time to, again, get the media notices out, work with community residents, so that by the time the spring comes and we're back into greener times, people will already know that they should be diverting to Oakwood. And then that will give us time to plan at Oakwood to update a few things at the facility.
Yeah, this is the prime time to start it now, because there wouldn't be that much coming out there at all. So, no, I think that's good discussion. Any other questions from council? Okay, thank you very much, Phil.
Thank you.
Then we can go to 6.2, fleet tanker trailer.
I'm not on mute here. Okay. Good afternoon, council. I believe you have a report you put forward here from the Public Works Department regarding our 1975 West Tank tanker. It has served its purpose for many years. We have a fleet of 3 tankers, the other one being the 1972 West tanker, and our newest one, which is about 4 years old. Each one of these serve quite the purpose when it comes to our seasonal operations in the summertime for dust control and water. The 1975 West tanker, again, as it served its many years for us, it's got to a point of non-repair. We've repaired it many times over the years. At this point, it's just not worth putting more money into it. The request in front of council, being that we need this unit for this upcoming season. We're looking to find another used tanker that'll suit our needs. And it is in our 2026 proposed fleet capital budget. So what we're looking for is to start seeking this used piece of equipment now rather than wait until we need it, and then you're kind of subject to what's out there, and then you're kind of at the mercy of time to get it ready for the season. So we are looking to get approval for this purchase. I believe we have the final cost being no more than $80,000. We see average costs on there between $50,000 to $65,000, but we also need additional monies for outfitting, whether it be pumps, valves, some piping works, and what have you. So we wanted to bring this in front of council for their consideration to go forward with this at the next council meeting, so that we can start looking and see what's out there in the market for a used piece of suitable tanker equipment for us. So this is not something we need that's brand new. So again, saving monies, would venture to guess probably half the cost of new, if not more. So that's it. If you have any questions.
So the one we're replacing is 50 years old. That's a lot of years, a lot of miles.
A lot of miles, a lot of volumes hauled throughout here. I personally put on quite a few miles on these tankers myself back in my earlier years, but yeah, they've stuff like this we try to rather repurpose where we can. If we had something that's an older unit, we can refabricate, whether it's on a 72, for example. Structurally, the tank was sound when we put a new suspension system in there. So that's going to serve us for, another bunch of years, rather than having to just replace it on a whim. So we try to find, best cost savings where we can. And, by outfitting something like this, we'll probably get another 20, 30 years out of it. So, and the use of the tankers, like I said, we're running 3 tankers now. Just the demand for dust control out there, and if we had to rely on contractor services, they're just not available, or to the time frame that we need it done. So it works really well for us. So.
All right, and you noted it's a safety issue there. It's just not safe to have it, or soon will not be safe to operate it?
Well, safe to operate, and I mean, you can do the fixes to it, but it costs prohibitive. It doesn't, we've patched it so many times now. The valving system on there it's getting, you have to start replacing valves. You got to replace the pump. It's split down the center, so it's leaking all over the place. And again, 1975, I think it's done its job.
Okay, Councillor Warren?
You just kind of answered my question by saying it's leaking.
Yeah.
I was just curious on when we replace a tanker, if it's the actual component of the tanker, or if it's like the suspension and the whole, everything together. Like, is it that unit obviously has had water in it, and then the dust control.
Yeah.
So does the dust control itself eat at the inside of that
Well, each on the inside,
Tanker.
somewhat more on the outside on your suspension and frame,
Yeah.
because as we spray dust control, we're driving through it and it's spraying up. So in this case, not only is it leaking, the whole suspension, axles, everything needs to be replaced. So, to start piecing that all together, you're gonna be,
No, I wasn't gonna do that, but I just wanted to know exactly where it was the most like that it's the material itself that's eating away at the whole entire tanker.
so the whole chassis underneath the chassis is rotting away now, so.
Other questions from council? Guess I'd say the straw vote, I think it should be replaced. Is everybody in agreement with that? I think that's unanimous there, but thank you. And you're next.
So I wanted to bring up, I believe this next one is snow removal operations. So each year we go out and we kind of assess areas within the towns and the rural areas just to see if things are, changed in our snow routes and for our operations. So what we've been noticing the last couple of years with some residents going out and marking edges of property, edges of driveways, edges of sidewalks. This year seems to be a growing concern. A lot more people are doing it. We have given notices. As a matter of fact, we've given out just about 100 notices already, just in Oak Bank alone, of the concerns that we have. So we referenced the bylaw, which is care and maintenance of boulevards bylaw. I understand what they're trying to do, and it's not always easy to figure out exactly where a sidewalk is or where the edge of a driveway is when it's covered in snow. Do we get damage on boulevards? Yes. That's typical anywhere you go, probably anywhere it snows. We do go and fix these areas come springtime. What's happening when people try to force us into a certain area now we're gonna increase other damages. So in this case, I think you just got some pictures. There's ones with markers with rebar, huge concern. If the bucket of our snow equipment cuts that off and we can't see it, somebody steps on that, somebody falls on it. If it gets impaled into our tires, our snow blowers, those are huge concerns. We've got other ones where people have the basketball nets right at the edge of their driveways. Again, these are areas that we store snow. We got driveway markers. We've got some pump hoses that are coming out right to the curb. So unfortunately, these are not going to last. They will be hit from the equipment. So we're just trying to, I guess, give education to the people. I believe we put it out on the website now, and I think it was going in the Clipper too, just a bit of a blurb as to why this is not something that we can have in our pathway for snow clearing. So I just wanted to bring it to council's attention. So if you're starting to get the calls, you can certainly refer them to us as well. But there are some pretty dangerous items out there that. And again, I get people are taking pride and they want to look after their boulevards. Unfortunately, it's all part and parcel. We don't go out there to purposely damage boulevards or any properties, but we do make the people aware of, and that the fact that if we do damage to any of their structures that they put out there, we can't be held responsible for it. So anyways, that was just more of an FYI for council.
Questions? I see none. Thank you very much, Blaine. Councillor Kaczynski. Do we need a couple minutes maybe to look at it there? Is it power? You got power in there? Well, we're pretty close to the end. I wonder, can you share off of Councillor Miller's there if you had to? And then we can, but we'll note it. Okay. Then we'll go to 6.4, employee benefits policy.
Is it on? Okay. So hi, I'm Jamie Carlson. I'm the HR manager for the RM of Springfield. Today, I'm bringing to you the employee benefits policy. I'd like to propose some changes to it to streamline, to be in line with legislation, as well as to save the RM some money. So my first proposed change to this benefits policy is breaks and lunches. Currently, it's very wordy. It says they'll get 2 15-minute breaks. They'll get 1.5 hour or a half-hour lunch at the discretion of the manager. If they work less than what they're entitled to breaks, I would like to line it up with employee standards, just saying that they'll receive rest breaks and unpaid meal period in accordance with the minimum standards outlined in Employment Standards Code of Manitoba, instead of having it so wordy. And then as well mentioning that the schedule will be based on the needs of the municipality as well. Next, we would move down to overtime. Currently, general holidays, vacation leave, and paid sick time are all deemed to be hours of work for the purpose of calculating overtime. I would like to remove and paid sick time. What we're seeing is an employee will go to an appointment first thing in the morning, so they're gone for 2 hours. Some choose to stay late and are banking over their 8 hours at time and a half. By changing this wording, they would just shift their work hours and work a regular 8-hour day. And that's why we would like to propose it. It would save us banking of time, paying out time and a half, and it's in line with Manitoba labor standards. As well, moving down to bank time, we would like to propose, instead of it being paid out by June 30th of the next year, make it March 31st. We're carrying a lot of liability by allowing all this time to be carried over and to be paid out at a later time. So to be able to get it off the books sooner, and as well as with all our vacation and all that, I propose that we make it sooner than later. And also to clarify that the time will be paid at which it was accrued. So say you receive a raise in January, but you banked your time in December, it'll be paid at your December rate of pay, not your new increased amount.
Mm.
And then the same goes, we also can bank straight time. Some employees work 7 hours a day instead of 8 hours. So their first banked hour is at straight time, because time and a half starts after 8 hours. So just imposing that same thing, it has to be taken by March 31st and will be paid at the rate at which it's accrued. And then we get over to vacation leave. So I'm proposing, currently the union ratified their agreement and we agreed to change to 8%. So 4 weeks vacation be awarded in the 7th year of continuous service. I would like to propose that change for all staff and not just union. So that would match the contract. And along with vacation, we allow vacation to be carried over to June 30th, but we don't put a maximum on it. So currently someone could carry over 6 weeks vacation, 40 hours overtime, and all have it taken in June up to June 30. So I propose putting a maximum of 2 weeks of vacation being carried over. As well, it'll be paid at the year at which it was accrued, the rate at which it was accrued, and has to be used or paid out by March 31. Once again, sort of eliminating that liability and having all this time paid out the next year. And also to encourage people to take their vacation. It's important, get time away. For sick leave, we currently say that you can only start using sick days after 3 months probationary period. I feel like that gives new employees a bad rap. If someone's child is sick or if they get very sick, I think they should be able to take a sick day because they've accrued it. So I would like to remove that they can't take a sick day until they've worked 3 months. I think it's better, especially with COVID and everything, we encourage people not to come to work when they're sick. Let's not do that to people who just start a brand new job. And also under bereavement leave, we say employees are not eligible for paid bereavement leave in the first 30 days. As an RM, I think we need to be more considerate. If someone loses a family member and needs a paid day off in the first 30 days, I think we should allow it. I mean, it's the right thing to do, as well as family leave. Once again, we say it may be granted after their probationary period. If someone needs a family day, I think we grant it. It, once again, being the right thing to do so people can take time off if necessary. Okay, so long-term disability. Currently, the RM pays a portion of this for employees. Because the RM pays a portion, if someone needs to use long-term disability, it would be taxed. If the employee were to pay the whole premium themselves, if they receive that benefit, it would be non-taxable. So they would receive the full amount. The government wouldn't be able to take any from them. So I propose that employees pay the full LTD disability themselves. It would cost them approximately $20 to $30 per pay and deductions. However, if they had to use LTD, it would be a benefit to them as they would not be taxed on it. Even if the RM were to pay $1 of that premium, it would automatically be taxed. And then moving down, currently we say that employees will pay 1/3 of the benefit plan and the RM will pay 2/3. I propose changing this to 30% for the employee and 70% for the employer. So this would raise the cost to the RM a slight amount, but if we change the LTD, it would actually save the RM $13,000 a year. And it would increase the benefits for employees. They'd receive non-taxable LTD as well as would pay less for employee benefits and dental. And lastly, deleting severance pay from this policy. Severance pay is not a benefit to the employee. And it's sort of confusing because it doesn't talk about actual severance pay. It talks about the notice period where you have to pay a certain amount. Currently, best practice is speaking with a lawyer, and I believe it's 1 month for every year of service. But I don't think we should put that in writing, and it's not a benefit if we're going to severance someone out of a company. And that's all. Any questions?
I had a question about adoption of a child paid leave.
Okay. So
No.
that's not covered in this
Yeah.
policy.
Oh, it isn't, eh?
No, but that would fall under EI benefits, under the parental benefits.
Oh, okay. All right. I never saw it in there, so now I understand.
That's another policy.
Any other questions? Councillor Miller?
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you very much for working not only on behalf of the RM, but it looks like employees. So you're weighing both sides of it, and you're giving what I call an unbiased treatment to both sides. So I really am satisfied with your proposals, but I have a question or two. You propose March 31st of the current year for the use of the bank time in that, but why wouldn't we line up with, say, the year end of the RM? And the reason I say that is because my organization has a year end and we have to use I'm not saying you have to be like us, but the auditor says to us that it's best to expire or use up that. Otherwise, it's basically carrying it to another fiscal year, and it is a liability, as you suggested. So could you line that up to December 31st in consistent but what's your rationale for doing?
My rationale for this is giving almost a notice period to employees. Typically, if someone's carrying over time, I would like to think it's because they have a purpose with it in the first couple months of the year. For example, if you're a new employee, You only have a week's vacation, but you're going to go to Mexico in January next year. So you'd like to carry over that week so you can use it for a full paid vacation, which is why March 31st tends to be the cutoff for hot vacations, as well as we've never limited the amount in the RM before. So there's a lot of people with a lot of vacation. So I think to gradually bring this in, but I think eventually the end game would to be get it to that year end, like use your vacation or get it paid out. But
Yeah.
I hear you.
And that's the challenge I was under. I wasn't taking a lot of vacation because I just didn't, but the auditor said it was a liability, but I understand your rationale. I'm supportive in what you just justified. My other question is, do you find in our RM, and I know this is prejudgmental maybe, but a lot of organizations have people who abuse their sick time and use it for, trips to here and trips to there. And I don't get, I know it's quite frankly, it's abusive. I've never used sick time, and I know that one should probably do that. But do you find that our employees are pretty
Employees are really good, to be honest. We do watch trends. We keep tabs on it to see if there's any like patterns. And we are not seeing abuse of sick time, which is fabulous. And if we are, we actually address it right away. That way we can move forward without it becoming a detriment.
excellent? And another maybe 1 or 2 points. For people who are using or banking time, certain situations might be where they need approval, of course, from their department head and so forth. But I hope those department head are not are somewhat disciplined in allowing the use of bank time, because some people will again abuse it. In other words, they'll
For sure.
overuse it, and
managers definitely keep an eye on it. It's more so people, it sounds funny, but they hoard it. They have it and they don't want, like they're saving it, but they're not totally sure why. But I'm not seeing bank time because people are being overworked or trying to abuse the system. It's for example, say a council meeting, if someone stays late to work the front desk, or say there's an event that the RM's putting on and someone comes in to help on a Saturday. But there's definitely not abuse, but once people have it, they don't like to spend it for some reason. So we want to encourage them to either take it or get it paid out.
I absolutely don't believe we have to be the Gestapo and have time cards, check in, check out. But having said that, just out of curiosity, and I don't mean anything wrong about this, but for instance, the CEO, I know she does a lot of extra time, and that's good, and I appreciate that, and I think it's important. But who keeps so much tabs on, whether it be our CEO now or in the future, who keeps tab? Because they could bank time. I know Colleen doesn't abuse it, but I'm saying someone could abuse it, right? And say, oh, I worked, 15 extra hours here and there. And who in the world would actually know?
Myself and the payroll clerk pay very close attention, watching the trends and who's banking time and who might be missing a lunch, or just to make sure people are taking their rest periods and not abusing it.
That's fair. And I really, really appreciate you taking point for the LTD, because I don't think employees realize that if they go on long-term disability, that they'll be taxed at the rate. But you've just given them an ample opportunity to basically tax-free take that opportunity. So really hammer that home. I think people may not be receptive to it on the
At
broader view.
first,
Yeah.
until you need it. And that's the thing. So yes, it's going to cost you up front, and sure, you may never need it, hopefully. However, those that do, it'll be so beneficial to them, and they'll be thankful when those checks are coming in whole and not losing a bunch to the government.
Absolutely. Thank you again for doing this work. I think it's very important.
Councillor Kozinski, then Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Jimmy, for the presentation. Really enlightening to us. You said that people collecting hours of the
Yeah, that people banking the overtime hours. How many overtime hours we have, and which department have the most overtime hours?
To be fair, I believe the finance department would have the most, because that's the department that covers the council meetings. As there's every Tuesday, there's typically a council meeting, which could be anywhere from 1 to 4 hours, say. And what they've really tried this year going forward is more people will be covering for those meetings. So spreading out that opportunity to bank some time off, which will also alleviate some people having more bank time. So it depends on council meetings really for most of the bank time.
So people who are on Zoom listening to our council meeting, are they banking those hours?
No, those that are working here in the building are
Or just
working
in the
those.
building?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it.
Glenn?
I just wanted to state, hi, Jamie. I'm supportive of these changes coming from self-employed. Again, the liabilities are a big thing and we got to watch those. And just tightening everything and coming up with these standards. I'm supportive of this. Thank you.
Any other questions? I see none.
I'll just say a comment.
Okay,
Good job, Jamie.
I'm so nervous.
same thing. Good job there, Jamie. Thank you.
Okay.
Then we'll go to 6.5, 2026 council orientation proposal.
So I'm sure everyone's aware that the next municipal election is held in October of 2026. So I am starting to get contacted by different consultants and companies offering orientation proposals for new council. So, and I think it's this time of year that people are planning for their 2026 budgets. So I just wanted to get a feeling from council. This is kind of typical that the current council will budget to put the new council through an orientation process. So I've attached 2 proposals that I did receive. They're quite different in the format and the pricing is somewhat similar, but just wanted to get some direction and further comments from council. And it doesn't have to be today, just if you think this is worthwhile looking at. And I think they're trying to book dates because they are filling up already. So.
Councillor Miller?
Thanks for doing that. As I remember coming into this position, we all collectively went to the George Cuff session, and I thought that it was put on by the AMM or the maybe it was a multitude of regional municipalities, but is that something that would also be offered on top of this or as another option?
I think this would probably replace that boot camp that council was attending with George Cuff, and this would be more tailored to our needs at the RM. So I know the AMM does put on other orientations as part of your conventions and stuff shortly after the election, but this would be very specific to Springfield and would involve our senior management as well.
Deputy Mayor?
Yeah, we just had a meeting yesterday with Community Futures. We just had a meeting yesterday with Community Futures. You might want to I can get Sherilyn to reach out to you. I know we talked about an information session for potential candidates and doing something with that. I'm not so sure on the orientation sessions for the newly elected council, but maybe something that Sherilyn could consider. Just reaching out to her also. I know we had talked about that. So I just wanted to share that information also. Thank you.
Now, let's say next year, will there be something at AMM? Will we be going to that one also, or is this just, you say, specifically for Springfield?
So I know AMM always plans something. I don't know what specifically it will be. It'll be more just the roles and responsibilities of council. I think putting on our own, we can tailor it on, how to run a meeting properly, how to chair a meeting, how to pass resolutions, and very, specific to the stuff that, someone new coming in might not know. And I think always coming from a third party is helpful as well. So, and they've probably learned from working with other municipalities best practices. So So I'm
Okay.
not saying this would be the only orientation, but this would be specific to Springfield, and then there would be other opportunities through AMM that you'd be attending.
Okay. Any other questions from council?
Thank you. Council, if you said that we're gonna do it for the incoming councillors or candidates even, is that possibility? So
Yeah,
we're
we
gonna
did.
pay for somebody that might not even become a councillor?
Yeah, so
That
we
doesn't
put
make any sense.
on, I can't remember what it's called exactly. We held it at the library. It was part of last year or last election. And it was called like, so you want to be a counselor. And we had a previous council member come and speak.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, so it just kind of gives people a general overview of what they can expect before they put their name in to see if it's something they're interested in and a place to ask questions. So I know Community Futures usually organizes that. So like Councillor Fuel mentioned, it looks like they're planning to do that again.
Yeah, because I seen that some numbers like they wanted $3,000, yeah, for some of these companies here.
This would be an internal orientation, very different than what
Yeah,
Community
yeah.
Futures would be putting on.
Oh yeah, so council gonna decide that, yeah. What do we want to do? Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? I see none. Last is Recreation Center project update.
So I think there's been public information that I think most people are aware. We put out the tender for the recreation center. So we wanted to give you an update because based on several requests from prospective bidders, we've decided to extend the recreation center submission deadline from December 9th to December 18th. So we were getting a lot of feedback. So I think the rationale for this decision is to provide contractors with additional time to thoroughly review the project and obtain accurate market pricing for materials. So we're hoping that this extension will help prevent bidders from withdrawing because of these time constraints or submitting proposals with inflated pricing just to meet those deadlines. So although we are hoping to approve something before year end, this would require us to push it more to the end of January to bring it back to council for a proper reporting of those submissions. So just wanted to provide council with that update.
Thank you, Colleen. And how is going the fundraising through our recreation committee?
Sorry, what was the question?
How the fundraising coming up?
I haven't received an update recently, but I know they continue to put on events and we're receiving donations, so I can get an updated amount for next council meeting.
Also, we're receiving donations, like whatever they raise, it's coming to the
Yeah, it's submitted to the
or-
municipality and we put that in our reserve. So we have a reserve where all those funds go into to help offset the cost of the project and reduce the borrowing.
So we could have that for next council meeting? If
Yeah,
you
I
don't
can
mind.
see what I
Thank
can
you.
get.
On that note, don't forget to get your 50/50 ticket in support of the rec center. You have before the end of the year. The draw is December 31st.
Thank you. Any other questions? And I see none. Then we're able to go to closed meeting. Can I get a mover and a seconder to go to a closed meeting? Terrian and Warren. I'll show hands for those to go into a closed meeting. It's unanimous, so carried. We'll go into a closed meeting at 2:04 p.m.
Recording stopped. Recording in progress.
Thank you. We're returning from a closed meeting at 2:31 p.m. on matters that were in camera. If I get a mover and a seconder for coming out of the closed meeting, Terrian and Fuel. Nothing else to be discussed, and we're going to close the meeting at 2:32 p.m. Thank you very much. We are going to have another closed meeting at 3 p.m. a little bit sooner with our exchange, our accountant. And that won't be on the website at all. Thank you.
Recording stopped.